Get a smoothie, huh?
Come on, pregnant girl.
Okay.
You know, bitches wait for me.
Hi, it's T with Teaquilts, and I'm just waiting for some viewers to come into the room.
Wait a minute. Let's pray.
See, I have 2 in the room now, so I'm just going to wait a few seconds.
And luckily, Smoothie's feeling somebody dying.
What's the situation between you and Sam?
I'm still mad.
See, the numbers are coming up. If you're able, can you go ahead and just put your city and state in the chat box live? Hi, everybody. Welcome. So we have Susie King from KC. Hi, Susie. And Sharon Martin. She's saying good evening. Sharon comes weekly if she's able. Diana Tarver from, I have no idea what part of Alabama this is. What? Umpka, Alabama. Got Viva Turner from Hettinger, North Dakota. HC from Harrisburg, Mississippi. Dewana from Milwaukee. And Sharon from Michigan. And I love my 2 nephews from Charmaine, Illinois. Diana is laughing at how I pronounced her city. She said close. Sheila Erb from Panama City, Florida. Kathy Hopkins. Hi, everyone. I'm 1 hour east of Toronto. Shirley Williams. Darlene Former from North Virginia. And Dewana says she missed last week because she was babysitting. Well, welcome, everybody. I see we got a few people in the chat room. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today, we're talking about our favorite rulers. So if you have a ruler you'd like to share, I'm asking for you to put it into the chat box, and then I will read it off because the chat box messages does not stay in the comment section when the video goes live. So we still got a few people. I love my 2 nephews. Her last name is Charmaine, and she's from Illinois, so she's laughing out loud at me. And then we got Terry Taylor, and she's from Moses Lake, Washington. Mrs. J.A. Coleman. Hi, Mrs. J. from Catonsville. So we're just going to go ahead and get started with some of our favorite rulers. As I said, if you have anything that you want to share, please go ahead and add it in the chat box. I still got a few people saying hello. Got Lauren Keynes coming in from Dallas, Texas. Ellie Grover from in Oklahoma. So the first ruler I want to talk about, or the brand more so than the rulers over anything, is the Creative Grid line. And the reason why I like these particular rulers is because they automatically come with some little circles on them to keep them from slipping on your fabric. The only thing is I have to go to other brands because they don't have every size that I need in this particular ruler. And then once I've already bought a ruler, I don't really want to replace it because then that really is wasteful spending. But I sometimes will have rulers in this room, and then I will have rulers by my long arm. So if I go buy a second ruler to put in a particular space, and I will buy Creative Grids if they have the size that I like. And then I also like using rulers in appropriate sizes. I don't like to use rulers when I'm cutting scraps. I don't want to use big rulers. So I like to use something smaller. And this is a very small 2.5-inch ruler. It's made by Creative Grids, but they were in cahoots with AQS and one of the Paducah shows, and they gave these out when you signed up for membership. And so I like that it's a nice little small size. It's 2.5 by 6.5. So it works very well with cutting down jelly roll strips. So we all use square up rulers, and I'm showing you now one that is 6.5. Trying to make sure I hear myself through the speaker. And most times when quilters first start out, they'll only purchase the 12.5 square up ruler. But I find when you're working with a big ruler to square up, say a 3.5 inch square, that you're just messing with something that's big and bulky. So then it makes trimming up very cumbersome. So I have these in all kinds of sizes. I have the 15.5, 12.5, 9.5, a few 6.5. This one here that is 4, and it's by both of these are by OmniGrid. I happen to already have had these before Creative Grids came into the market, and I just put some of those little self-adhesive dots on them sometimes to keep them from sticking. And there's some other products on in the quilt industry that you can use to keep your rulers from sticking. I mean, from sliding as well. Other rulers when I'm cutting down scraps. This is actually one of my favorite rulers for cutting down scraps. It's a 4 by 8 inch ruler, and it's by OmniGrid, and it's basically because of the size. And it's a very good size for just cutting down things quickly without messing with a very long ruler. And then my last basic ruler is this ruler that is 3 inches by 18 inch. Sometimes when my blocks have exceeded my ruler size, like my 8.5 by 24 inch, if the block is bigger than 8.5 and I have to use the lines on my mat to cut, 18-inch long one, because if my block is 12 inches or 12.5, I've got more room to use some of the other lines to make sure my block is square as I'm cutting. Or any fabric, if I'm just making a border that's say 9 inches, then I just want to make sure that I've got something that's bigger than my ruler. Oh, I got a ruler that's bigger than my pieces. I'm sorry. Some of my favorite rulers, and I just brought in the biggest one this time, and I brought the one that's by Creative Grids again, is I love the 60-degree triangle ruler. You can do so much with this ruler. I have done a video. No, I have not done a video on this one. I actually show what I do with this ruler in my lecture that's called Things That Disappear. But maybe at some point I'll do a little segment out of it to show you some other ways that you can use a 60-degree ruler. I like to use this mostly when I'm cutting crumb blocks and string blocks, because then I can cut, say, a 12-inch finished 12-inch finished 60-degree triangle. And then because all of the different fabrics that are in it, it becomes a very interesting triangle instead of just a plain piece of fabric. And then just the last one that I'm showing, this is not all. I'm just hoping that some of you will participate. I love the Tri-Rex tools. You actually get both of these pieces in the package when you purchase it. I actually like the one that's by Easy Quilting, the Darlene Zimmerman tool. There is another company that makes this, but I prefer this brand and this company. And do note that if you're trying to do a project and you are swapping out the rulers, that you're going to have to line up your pieces differently because of how they were made. So I like the way that these two were made. And I like this one because you can actually make half square rectangles with this. You don't have to, we've been making a lot of half square triangles, but I don't see a whole lot of half square rectangles. And then this ruler here, a lot of people mistake this for a 60-degree ruler, but it is not a 60-degree ruler. I will just place it up here on this ruler. And when I put it up here, you can see it does not line up on the edge. So this is not a 60-degree ruler, so don't get it confused when someone tells you to bring a 60-degree ruler. But there's a lot of things that you can do with this. I will refer you to a video that I have done where I have shown you all of the things that you can do with a Tri-Rex ruler, and I will add that video once this. I'll add a link in the description field, and I'll also add it at the eye once the video go live. So that is what I have for right now. If I don't get any more, I'll just start pulling rulers. But I'm hoping that I can get some suggestions from the viewers. So I'm going back into the comments. Dewana Montreal says she likes her shape rulers. Can you expand on that a little bit more? Who are they by and what type of shape rulers do you have? It says her two favorite rulers are the easy angle and companion angle. And I don't have those in here or in the back room, but the easy angle and the companion angle are tools that you can use to cut half square and quarter square triangles from strips. And actually, when you cut them, you are saving 3/8 of an inch of fabric. You don't have to cut, say, if you wanted a half square triangle to finish 2 inches, you would have to cut 2 7/8 inch strips in order to cut squares and then cut those squares in half. If you use the easy angle, then when you cut, you only cut 2.5 inch strips. You are eliminating some of the eights, so you're actually saving fabric in the process. And one of your tips will already be cut off. So I know those are great tools. The Quilting Marine is here. Hello, how are you? I was on your site last week. You were referred by my group when we were talking about places to go on YouTube for inspiration. So welcome to Teaquilts. And thank you. He's saying that I'm doing a great class. And he says OmniGrid is his favorite. And Sharon Martin is saying she loved the small rulers. My 3x7 is my favorite. It's made by Easy Angle. And the Quilting Marine is saying that their 50-degree angle is huge. And he's talking about the angle on the Tri-Rex tool here that a lot of people actually confuse for 60 degrees. And Darlene is asking, do I have any particular rulers used for squaring off? And that's where I was talking about. I'm squaring up any blocks. I actually use a square ruler, and all of my square rulers right now are OmniGrid. But I do have another company from a lady. I think she was in Missouri, not St. Louis area, but she came to our guild and she talked about she had some square rulers, and I did buy those, but I didn't pull them. But what it is on, you buy 2 rulers, and between those 2 rulers, you can square up anything from, I think it's from 1 inch to 12 inch between the 2 rulers. You just rotate 4 corners and you can get your square up measurement. But I can't be sure how many of them. It must be 8 if you turn it each time, so you can square up 8 different sizes maybe. I'll have to add that in the description box. And Sharon is saying that her favorite ruler is the 3x9 by Quilt Sense. I don't know what that ruler is, so that's something that we can look up. And somebody is saying they love their June Teller Shape Cut Plus. I am new to quilting, plus I am Fraction Challenge. And the Shape Cut Plus, I don't have any of those in my room. But before I got my my die cutting system, I'm going to the long arm. But before I got the die cutting system, my Go Cutter, and then I sold that and switched out and got a studio. I used to use the Shape Cut all the time, and I still have a couple of those rulers here for the rare times that I do use them. But they are excellent rulers for cutting a lot of scraps in a very short period of time. So they are excellent rulers as well. And they also have a June Teller square up ruler for your half square triangles, which is really awesome. It works with all of your even size half square triangles. Maybe not even size. Let me think about that. It might be all of your whole sizes, because I think I wrote them trying to get them to do them in half sizes, like 1.5 inch finish, 2.5 inch finish, but that never came out. They come in whole sizes only. Got Dewana saying she liked the apple core, double wedding ring, and her binding ruler. And that's pretty awesome too. I think I have the apple core and the double wedding ring as dies. So I tend to buy things that are very difficult for me to cut. I will most definitely buy that as a die. And I have not used the binding ruler. Lucky Sinclair is here. Says hi T Quilt. How are you? Informative topics. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And then KRBC NJC says block lock rulers for squaring up blocks. And I purchased one of those last year in Paducah, and I still have not used that ruler. I'm just so used to die cutting where I don't have to square up, but I do need to use that ruler. I did buy it to do a tutorial or product review, but I've never done that. So thanks for the reminder. Okay, and then the Quilting Marine wants to know what is a die cutter. You have companies like AccuQuilt. You can go to accuquilt.com, and they are the company that most likely deal with the quilters. There are other companies now that are doing dies, but that's the one that I use. They have 4 different die cutting systems now. You can get the baby die cutter, you can get the Go die cutter, and then you can get an electronic Go die cutter, and then they have the Studio system. The Baby Go is just a smaller version of the regular Go. It just takes smaller dies. But what it is you can say you have a 2-inch strip board, and the board will be, say, 25 inches. It's half. You can cut your strips from it in half. In half, like it comes off the boat. You can fan fold your fabric on it. And I think the die has 3 strips on it, and then you fan fold it up to 6 layers. So you run it through the die, and then you have just cut 9 strips at one time with one pass through the die. The nice thing about the strip die cutters is that you can draw on 45-degree, 30-degree, and 60-degree angles, and they have now started including that on the die because some of us quilters already figured that out. You can also draw perpendicular lines to the blades where you can cut squares, and if you do the angles, then you're cutting diamonds. So you can do a lot with strip die. But the electronic one is one where you don't have to actually rotate it through the system. And then the Studio die system that I have, I can actually cut more fabric in a pass, and my dies are also wider. So I can cut up to 10 layers with the Studio system. And I'm trying to make sure I'm getting everybody's question. If I missed your question, I'm at Linda Griffith, and she's saying this is the first time that she's caught me live. Well, welcome, Linda. I appreciate you taking your time to chat with us. If you got a favorite ruler, go ahead and pop it into the chat box. I'll share it with everyone. Quilting Marine says he's still shopping at my quilt room. That's pretty funny because I'm not even in the fabric area. You have to see another video to see all the fabric I have that's showing. That's not everything. That's just what you see. So you'd really have a ball if you saw my longarm room. And he says he also loved to use the binding ruler. So this is a good place to come and get verification of product before you buy. That's one of the reasons why I like to do product reviews. So if you are a new quilter and you don't have a lot of funds to invest right away, because if you try to get everything, you can spend your whole check for the month. So I like to do reviews where you know what's a good product and what isn't. Sharon says she found at Joann's one day when I was wandering aimlessly. Of course, I wander aimlessly every time I go into any store. And then someone is saying, can I do a tutorial on the die cutter system? I do have a die I mean, I do have a die cutting video already uploaded. I was showing you how I cut my scraps. I have to link that also. I can't remember the name of it, but I can't remember. I'm not gonna even try to make it up, but I will try to link it for you. I love my two nephews. Rhonda, one way you can probably find it though is I do have a playlist for Teaquilts AccuQuilt. So you might can find it if you go to my page and put in AccuQuilt. And then Rhonda Ladson is here live for the first time. Do you have any creative grid rulers? Yes, I do. I talked about 3 of them. I like the whole line, but I don't have the whole line because I'm just not going to replace rulers that I've had that are still functioning. But I do like their line the best because of having the grip properties on the back of it already. So I did talk about this one, the 6.5 by 12.5, and then the 6.5 by 2.5. And this one was in conjunction with AQS. So yes, thank you. Do you have a different ruler from Creative Grids that you like? For some reason, some of your messages are being. Oh, okay. They're just that one wasn't restricted. It was retracted. Okay. And Linda saying she used her AccuQuilt as often as she can. My rulers are pretty generic. And that's kind of how I started out with my AccuQuilt system. I had bought mostly geometric dies, and then I found I wasn't using them as much. So I went back and started buying things that had curves, and I'm now hot flashing. So just a second. And Dewana Montreal is saying that the die cutter will be her next purchase. My AccuQuilt is my favorite ruler. Don't have to tax my brain. And I love my two nephews saying I was going to buy the AccuQuilt, but I ended up purchasing the Brother Scan and Cut. The Scan and Cut cuts the shapes out for me. And that's true. It can only cut one layer at a time. I know you can put many layers onto the Scan and Cut, but I do have an electronic cutter. It's time to cut 200 to make 200 half square triangles. I need 400 pieces. That Scan and Cut's going to be working for a long time. Whereas I can take my die cutting system where I'm just rotating it through, and I can cut those 200 pieces in about 15 minutes tops. So there's pros and cons of everything. I mostly use my electronic cutter when I'm doing paper crafting. I do cards as well as I do scrapbooking. And we still got more confirmation that the creative grid rulers are the favorite. The Quilting Marine is saying, I'm going to be looking for a die cutter. Just go to their site. And then the funny thing was that AccuQuilt actually started out as a company called AccuCut, and it still is combined. But what AccuCut came out, they mostly were working with the education field. And so they had all of these different shapes, and then the quilters went and bought these dies. And when they started sewing, they wouldn't match up because the 1/4-inch seam wasn't added into the die. So then they got very smart very fast, and then they made the company AccuQuilt, where AccuQuilt is more for the quilters, and the other side of it, AccuCut, is made for education purposes or things where you just don't need, you're not going to be sewing, you're just going to be mostly making posters, things like that. So they've been in the business for a long time, and they even will make specialty dies. So if they don't have something that you like, you can submit it in, and they will give you a fee after they draft it and give you a price. Kathy saying she struggled with that binding ruler every time I use it and finally gave up. I just haven't seen the need to purchase the actual binding ruler because I do such a great job on binding, and it's never been difficult for me. So that's one of the reasons why I don't have it, and I can't see myself spending the money for it. And Lucky Sinclair saying she's not familiar with all these brand rulers, only creative grids, which I tend to love, especially the 6-inch square or all the squares. So that's true. Most people will advise you to buy a brand of ruler and just stick with that one brand. And that was before, like I said, I've been quilting way before OmniGrid was the first company that I started buying rulers for, but they didn't have everything in every size at that time. And so then when other companies started coming out, of course, I bought the other things. But even if I'm working with a specialty ruler like hexagons or got the lazy angle, all of those things aren't going to match up all the time. So you just need to know how to use your rulers for cutting appropriately. I think that's the main thing. When you're cutting, you need to make sure that the line you're cutting is on the edge of your fabric. It shouldn't be hanging off the fabric. And I think that's where the problem come in, is knowing how to cut with the rulers. And we got somebody saying they like the Missouri Star Quilt Company rulers that work great with pre-cuts, very little waste. Dewana say, remember, I'm a beginner. Okay. And for some reason, the word die must be a banned word because I keep having to reveal those messages. But someone is saying they will. I deleted somebody's. Oh, okay, it came back. Sheila Herb. She was saying that I will be getting a die cutter. For some reason, it's certain words that they're not letting them come through, so I have to actually get those. So we talked about a lot of rulers for piecing as far as with quilting. Does anyone have any other rulers for the longarm system? Let's talk a little bit about that. And then I'll go back to the comment section. So this is just one of the sets of rulers. I also have the square set. So this is circles. And it's called the Sweet Set Rules. And I actually bought this at the Nancy Notions website online, bought both of the sets. And what I like about these particular ones is I use my hopper foot with these. And I'm just going to show you this one. And it's going to be difficult to see, but it has a little slot for you to get in and out around your hopper foot. And then I like it because I can use two sizes at one time. I can put my hopper foot inside, or I can use my hopper foot along the outside. And I like these a lot because I use this to do my circles whenever I'm doing feathers in a circle. So I don't have to mark anything on the quilt. And this one comes with 6 sizes in the pack, and I'm sure you're not going to be able to see them all, but let's try. Okay, let me just show you 3 at a time. So here's the first 3. So I've got this little bitty one, and then here's the second one, and then the third one, and they all nest in to each other. And then here's the final 3. And this large size is 6.5 inches. So these have been perfect for me to put into my 12-inch square blocks if I want to do feathers in it. So I like these. And again, I have these in the square set as well. I bring every ruler because I didn't want to unpack everything in my areas to bring into here. So I just brought a few things. Some other things that I like is the Pocket Pebblers by Dusty Farrell. And they actually come apart. I actually use some circle grips on these. They don't come with that. And you put this into your hopper foot, whatever size. They come in circles, hexagons, probably, what else? I can't remember what the other sizes are. Squares. They got about 5 or 6 different kinds. And then you can just go around the inside and then you slide down and you can keep going with whatever size you want. Or if you want to switch the sizes, you can just break it apart and put it inside. So you can actually make pebbles that they can be laying up against each other. You can do different sizes if you want. So these were very creative. And then my favorite ruler company is Quilter's Apothecary. And I like them because he always have the lip for you to hold on. And that is so much safer when you're working. And this one is called the Mythical D. Now, I have not used this ruler, but I've seen all the things that he's done with it on his YouTube channel. And so I purchased it, but I just haven't had a quilt that I wanted to play with it on yet. But I do love the handle, and that's basically why I brought this ruler in. So let me go back to some of the comments here. Someone is verifying that AccuQuilt is great, helping the quilting marine spend his money. And he was the quilting marine is saying that his bindings were not the best, so that's why he brought the tool. And I guess I think you just need to be properly taught. And as new quilters, if you don't get the information right away or get it correct, it's very hard to do something. So I do think some tools are very valuable for new people. And Catherine Hill is saying hi. How are you? Welcome. Sharon is saying most of her rulers are omni-grid. It's good to stick to one brand for accuracy. Not that they aren't accurate, because I've compared them all to the omni-grid. Linda says she uses half square rulers she used HQ rulers on her Sweet 16 sit down quilting machine. Best. I have several rulers, which works great, but I prefer the HQ rulers. And I can't remember if I have any. I might have the Versatile, and that might be it. I have to look into getting more of the HQ rulers. Lauren King says she has to go big cutter. 40% off on selected dies. So if you go to the AccuQuilt site, she's saying there's 40% off. Sharon says, I like that brown ruler for quilting. Not that I have any, but they're on my list. And like the handle on the ruler, that's cool. That was the Mythical V ruler, but all of the Quilters Apothecary rulers have the handle. Jennifer Massard says she bought the 4-in-1 ruler from Piece and Quilt, but I haven't tried it yet. So I don't know what the 4-in-1 ruler is. I'm sure I have probably seen it, but probably am forgetting it, but I will look that up to make sure. And the Quilting Marine, he's referring back to the binding tool, and how I was saying if you weren't taught properly, that's probably why that's a great tool. And he was saying that's true because he taught himself. I'm just surprised at how fast and how far you have come in quilting, and you have just started. So I'm impressed. And my main thing with new people, I just want you to do it because I want you to be inspired to keep quilting. And then if you need to get some correction, I'm all there for it. I just want you to keep motivated. And Darlene Farmer was asking what would be some good all-purpose rulers to take for a retreat. Darlene, I just uploaded a video today on packing for a retreat. And what I try to do for a retreat, so that I'm not bringing everything that I own, is I'll try to pre-cut all of my projects as much as I can, the absolute smallest rulers that I can. So this time I didn't even need to take 8.5 by 24 ruler because I had pre-cut everything. All I was doing was going to be squaring up paper piece half square triangle. So I needed rulers to cut those pieces apart. So you can look at that video, and I give you a whole checklist of things that you can take to retreat. Carla Gant says, I got here late Did you enjoy your retreat? I am sure you did. It don't look like you missed bringing anything. No, when I go to retreat, it looks like I'm moving out, but that's okay because when I get there, I have everything that I need. Bothering my neighbors, asking them, can I borrow something? Maybe they need it themselves. And so I just try to make sure that I have all of my bases covered for the what if. And I've seen quilters come to retreat and they only brought one project and then they finish that project and they have nothing else to do the entire weekend. And there was a time when I would take those quilters and put them into my sweatshop. I would have them making signature blocks, half square triangles. I would put them to work because I always bring some extra stuff. So bring your own stuff or you can be in my sweatshop. And Kathy Hopkins said, did you get a chance to watch any of the videos that were recommended a couple weeks ago? I did because I went to the Quilting Marines website, saw some of his videos, saw his processes. So I did. I can't remember the other ones, but I actually wrote those down and I did go through that list. And then the Quilting Marine is saying longarm rulers are above his pay grade, but I'm still dreaming to learn longarm. The nice thing about longarming now, which it wasn't when it first was popular with the average home quilter, is that you can now rent them out at the stores. And so if you've got a technique or something you want to put on your quilt, you want circles on your quilt, you can take your own ruler in and maybe they will, after you go through some kind of orientation and you can start to play with it and do your own thing as you get more comfortable. But they're not very expensive to rent per hour. I think the one, it's either $25 or $50 an hour. I can't remember which one, but I can quilt a quilt if I'm doing an all over pattern. I can quilt a quilt in an hour. So it's not very expensive if you're doing it yourself and you keep aware of your time. If you're just not messing around, you got to stay focused. So Gabonita, that was my sister's middle name. And she says, how so you prevent the strips from becoming wonky at the fold when cutting them? I think some of the times, if you buy new fabric and you don't wash it, we assume that because it's folded on that line that it's straight, and that may not always be true. When I get my yardage, I will take, and I don't have any in here to show you, but I will take the two salvages in my hand and I will move them to make them get even. And I don't think I have any yardage appropriate for me to show you that in here. And did you all hear me when I turn away? That's why I'm using the mic, because every time I turn, it would stop. This is a bag of scraps I was using for the Nancy Notion stuff. Let me see if I've got a piece of yardage in here I can demo. If it's a full cut. That's the problem, because I deal mostly with scrap. So I've got some scrap. And then, okay, I can still hear it. Want to make sure. So I've got this piece of fabric, and we assume when we get it from the store that it's folded on the selvage. Well, when I iron my pieces, I take that fold out as much as I can. And when I go to put this together, I don't just fold on that fold line per se. I will take these two selvages here and I will wiggle these left and right until my bottom piece is not folded with a wrinkle. So I don't know if it's even showing up here, but if I move this over, you can see where it's not very straight. But as I move back, you can see that it starts to get straight down at the bottom. And this is just a sample that I've already had folded. And if you do it yourself, you're going to notice the difference on that piece. And it's going to be freshly ironed. See, I've still got wrinkles in mine, but you can tell I've already got it folded in the right place. But that's how I line up my salvages to make sure that that strip is straight before I start cutting strips. And that's why you get the little wonky bow when you're cutting your strips with it folded in half. I'm trying to figure out where I left off. So the gift basket appeal says she was sent over by the Quilting Marine. Well, thank you for the referral and thank you for coming. I appreciate you coming. We've been talking for a pretty good deal of time on the different types of quilting rulers. And the Quilting Marine said, if you need a drill sergeant for the sweatshop, I'm your Marine. Remember, T, it's just fabric and it's just thread. I'm not sure what that one was referred to. Cindy says, hey, T and everybody. Cindy from Wisconsin is here. Welcome to the live chat. Do you have any rulers that are your favorite you would like to share with us? Please put them into the chat box and I will go through them. And Cheryl Harper is saying a great retreat video. What kind of soup did you make to take? I actually started out with making a turkey soup. I put, it ended up being a stew because it was very thick and very chunky. So it's very easy soup to make. Whenever I'm making soup, I don't use all fresh ingredients. The main fresh vegetable that I used was potatoes. I used 2 cans of canned carrots, peas, and corn, whole kernel corn. I drained all the liquid off of that. I then also peeled some potatoes, I'd say about 4 pounds, because I made a big stew pot we had like 20 something people. And let's see what else. The first thing I do though is that I cook my onions so that I can release those flavors. And then I also added turkey, and then I didn't have a whole lot of turkey, so I added turkey smoked sausage. And I also released the flavors in that. I added some paprika into that as I heated that up. And then I put all of the onions and meat into the big stew pot, poured all of those vegetables in. And then I added chicken broth to cover it about 2 inches. And then I let that cook for about 45 minutes because I let it simmer, not cook, for like 45 minutes because I wanted my potatoes to get soft and I wanted that turkey to get kind of like in that shredded consistency. And then I came back and added in a can of tomato paste, a can of tomato sauce, a can of crushed tomatoes, and a jar of spaghetti sauce. Put that in, and then I tasted to add my salt and pepper at that point. And let's see what else. And then I let that simmer for about 45 minutes. And I made sure I stir because once you put in the red sauces, you got to make sure you stir. If you're one of those people that likes sugar in your spaghetti, you can add a couple of tablespoons of sugar if you like. I'm not one of those that like sugar, but you can do it. And it was pretty good. It went over very well. I had a little left today that I took to my mom and she demolished the rest of it. I love making soups, actually. And Kathy Hopkins says she laughed so hard in my what to take to retreat video because somebody forgot their clothes. And it was a great thing because we were just on the south side of town. It was just like driving one highway across town to go get them, but it was the fact they had to go get them. If it had been 4 or 5 hours, I think they would have been in Walmart or Target. And Sharon's asking about the Quilting Marine, asking if he's on YouTube. Yes, he is. If you don't know about the Quilting Marine, please go check out his YouTube page. We got Miss J.A. Coleman. She's also here. She has a YouTube page. She deals with knitting. If anyone else here has a YouTube page, have videos, please let me know and I'll shout them out. I'm not selfish. And Carla says, yes, Kathy, I would be that person that would forget my clothes, laughing out loud. And then Sharon is saying she also lines up her selvages the way that I just showed you. I know it wasn't a very good demo because I'm not set up for that, but that's basically how I make sure my fabric is square before I cut. When those fabric stores that even carry your fabric, I find it still isn't line up those selvages like that. Quilting Marine is hungry. He's saying he's coming over. I think he wants to eat. And someone asked, is there any tricks to using the apple core ruler? I do not have an apple core ruler. I actually use an apple core die. And I do have a video on how I piece the apple core units. So I'll add that as well when this video go live. And then we said, we got people that are having to go. So they're saying, thank you. I appreciate you all coming. Appreciate your time. And go ahead and thumbs up this live video and subscribe to T's channel. I'm enjoying this. That's from the gift basket appeal. And Cindy is saying her favorite ruler is an OmniGrid 3x18. I showed that. That is so funny. And people, I have not seen many people with this ruler. And this is one of my favorites too. Seems to be the one that I grab the most. I also use Creative Grids 2.5x6 a lot. And I had that one. It's a 6.5. The one that I actually got from AQS at a show. So it's very similar. This ruler was created by Creative Grids for AQS. So Sharon is saying she could live on soup. And they want to know, how do I store my rulers? And that I can't show you. Well, I could. It's right there, one of them. But I use ruler racks. I do have one in here that's a vertical rack. It's up and down, and then it has slots in it going up. It's a 3-block system where it has 3 lines. And so if I have some shorter rulers, I can put 2 or 3 in one line. Or if it's long ruler like this, then I can only put 1 ruler in the line. But it's only about a foot wide by this. So it's a foot this way and about 4 inches thick. And it sits about, I got the 18-inch ruler. So it sits about 20 inches high. And I must have just bought it at a quilt show or something. I don't know where I got it. The other ones are those flat rulers that, you know, they're the ruler base, and then they have the slots in them, and then you can just put your rulers in them. Those were the ones that came out first. I have like 5 or 6 of those. I have those back in my scrapbooking area. I have rulers in there, and then I have one at my longarm system for the rulers that I'm using as I'm working on a quilt. I don't keep all of my longarm rulers out, just the ones I'm using on the quilt. So that's how I store, and I can probably just at some point just add a photo in a future video at some point. But Harper wants to know, how many years have I been quilting? I actually started quilting in 1994. And Darlene says, do you know of any future quilting themed cruises? No, I don't. I have not signed up for any of those, and I don't keep up with what's going on. I do want to attend one someday. I just have not done that, and I got so many other things going on. My goal this year, which I have not followed through on yet, is I would love to go to Houston for a second visit. I've been there once. But I have to get a room first. That's my first thing, but I haven't even attempted to do that. So I'm hoping that I'll make it this year. We'll see. And Quilting Marine says his favorite ruler is the 8.5 by 24, but I'm going to get the 3x18. Thank you very much. And that the 8.5 by 24, that's the one that I really love. That it's the green line of OmniGrid. Let me get it out. It's like this. And I also have this ruler in the 8.5 by 12.5 as well. But I do love these rulers, and they came out with the green so that you could see on dark fabrics as well. But then it doesn't work very well on green fabric. Sharon says I have the router. It's my second favorite. I use it all the time. I don't know what that is. Ruler, it's my second favorite. Okay, she was talking about a ruler. What is some of your favorite quilts? Oh, quilt patterns. And quilt technique, which is strange, is the stack and whack. And I have a whole series of videos on that. I just love to do string and crumb quilts because you can make them so unique and do them your own. There are a few techniques that I like. One of my best free patterns online is from a app called Jelly Roll Jam 2. If you just want to take some oddball fabrics, scraps, and put them together, you don't have to start with jelly rolls. You can actually cut your scraps into the end sizes. Then I think that one's a great one for mixing a lot of scrappy fabrics. But my actual favorite technique is the stack and whack quilts or things in that nature. Do you have your live chat every Wednesday, and at what time? Yes, Rhonda, I do have live chat every Wednesday. We do it at 7. Sometimes if I'm actually having a lecture on that day, I may not be here, but I try to be here every Wednesday, 7 p.m. USA Central Standard Time. The Quilting Marine asking, will I be in Paducah this April? I go to Paducah. I try to go every year. I haven't missed probably but one. I go on Friday. I just do the one day, and then I come back home. I'm about a 2.5 to 3 hour drive from Paducah. So yes, I will. Sharon says she stores her rulers on the wall with really thin nails, finishing nails, and I hang small, similar rulers together on the same nail. And I guess, I could give you some other tips for storing rulers. You can also, I have a little denim bag that I made, and then I put different heights of pockets on it as it went up. It's just bound around the edges, and you can store your rulers in something like that. I've also have friends who has under their desk, they put nails in there, and then they hang their rulers off of that. You can also, instead of using nails, you can use the 3M hanging hooks. That probably will work for some of them. Gamble, sometimes I have magnets that have a hook on them, and then I would hang some of my rulers on my machine because my machine is metal. So it just depends on what you have for storage. So let's see. We've got Kathy saying thank you very much for everything. We got like 5 more minutes, so we're getting some people signing off. So thank you for coming. Angela Wittenberg said your stack and whack videos are how I found you, T. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That was my first video, and I only did it. That's because I was doing a lecture, and someone was asking me about fabric choices for that. And that's one of those things that you can't explain if you don't have it in front of you. And of course, at a lecture, I don't have different types of fabric. And so I came home and recorded those first 2 videos for her. Only record videos under 10 minutes. So I had to do it in a part 1 and a part 2 on what fabrics would and would not work. So thank you. I appreciate that. And that's how I actually started doing videos, but I didn't do a lot of them until I retired in 2015 from my job. And guess what? Thinking of videos, I counted up today because I'm getting ready to do my taxes. But I have made 152 videos in 2017. So I thank you all for supporting me and for watching. Hi, Eric. How are you? We miss you. Sharon says she watched the stack and whack tutorials. The whole list. I mean, for last night for the third time. I'm thinking she means last night. And she's saying great tutorials. Well, thank you very much. Catherine Hill says, I use a pegboard on the wall. That's another great idea. That's what I did when I had a lot of wall space. I had a pegboard, but I gave up the pegboard for the design wall. So it's a give and take thing. So that's a great idea. Fran is saying, hi T, looking forward to some pointers on ruler work on my small long arm. Wisconsin loves Teaquilts. Thank you, Fran. I have not finished a thing in a while because my schedule has been so bad since fall of last year. Once I finished those memory quilts, I've had a lot of lectures. I've even had some lectures where I had to, produce the entire program. So I had to, really pull quilts and see what would work for that. So I've been very busy. And then I also have my scrap quilting club is going on right now. I also decided to do the Bonnie Hunter mystery quilt, which I should not have done, but I'm glad I did because I really like it. So it's been really busy and haven't had a chance to really get anything done. So my to-do list or my done list rather, is not moving along very much at this time. But I will. But I will get back to long arm quilting and probably start working with some of those rulers. And the thing is, I'm not an experienced long armor. My whole point with this channel is to show you if something is easily to use right out the gate as compared to spending 200 hours practicing. And then these people get on here and make YouTube videos and make it look so easy. It's not easy. And so I want you to see when I make mistakes, I want you to see the good with ugly. And if it does work on the first, I'm so happy for it, but it's not always perfect. It takes practice. Uh, KRBCNJC, she's asking where am I located and do I have a shop? I am located in the St. Louis, Missouri area. And I do not have a shop. I do have an online shop. I have a few patterns on my website at www.teaquilts.com. So everything is over there. I'm actually starting to over there. I'm trying to work on starting up a blog. I just posted my first post on my website blog today. I do have a blogspot blog, but I'm trying not to use that currently. These comments are just going and going. Quilting Marine is saying congratulations. I don't know what for because by the time I get the comment, I don't know what it's in relation to. Phyllis is saying thank you for sharing. Eric Otis say, hey, taking a break at work. And then, oh, they're saying congratulations on the 152 videos. Okay. So I get it now, but it's like it comes in so late over here. And then congrats T on 152. And thank you for sharing, watching from NC. That was Phyllis. Darlene says, thanks. Good night, guys. Mrs. J. Coleman says, love your vlogs, T. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Appreciate you coming by. And I hope you get some people that are interested in knitting. I come watch a video every here and there. I can't knit. I'm left-handed and it is so difficult for me to learn. Carla says, I love the Bonnie Hunter quilt this year and want to make that one. I hope you've downloaded the parts because I think it will only be up to the end of this month and then all of those tutorials will be taken down. So if you're interested in the Bonnie Hunters on Ringo Lake mystery quilt pattern, please go and download your steps now before it's taken down. And then Lauren King says, thank you, T. Great video. I will be watching the Quilting Marines video. Phyllis Gardner says, thank you for sharing. And then the Quilting Marine says he's thanking people. So I'm glad you all are going to go support him. I appreciate that. Jennifer says, do I have a subject in mind for next week's live feed? No, I do not. If anybody have any suggestions, you can quickly put them in the comment field or you can put them in the comment box when I upload this video, but I don't have a clue about next week's topic. Thanks for answering my questions. Very informative video. And then this is Kathy from Tennessee. Anita says, great, thank you. Sharon said, I'll try to tune in next week. I'm having surgery that day. Praying for you. Hope all goes well for you, Sharon. And if we don't get any more comments, we're going to go ahead and close this out. And I think Sharon's getting some comments back. And Eric is asking me, is the Missouri Star Quilt Retreat happening? I had about 10 people that signed up for the retreat initially, and then I had some people that had some surgeries that had to be scheduled, and then some people that couldn't get off work. So I think I was only down to like 6 people. So we are not going to have the retreat that I was intending to have. I am now going to see if I can find another place, like having it at the Missouri Star Quilt Company, see if they will host for a smaller group for us, because I think you just need to have at least 4 people to go there. Right now, I don't know anything, so I'm going to try to figure that out by the end of next week, and then I'll contact the other people. I had to notify and get in the down payments by January 31st, so that's why I was kind of waiting to see if anything came in late. But right now, it's not happening. And I'm not really sure if I will even attempt to do another one anytime soon. So I've been having people saying that they'll try to come next year. Next year is our quilt show, and I'm always busy on the odd number year, so I can't do it in an odd number year. And I'm not sure if I want to go through the hassle of trying to get 30 people again, since it wasn't successful this time. So I don't know. I'm not saying never ever, but not anytime soon. So, well, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and close out this chat. I thank you all for watching. If you have a suggestion for next week's topic, please let me know by the weekend so I can prepare, say by Sunday. And if I get something, if you give me something I can do, then I'll go ahead and do those topics and add them to the list. I'm here for you, and I want you all to share with me as well. So I'll see you later, and bye-bye.